cracks in the foundation of our lives often begin as faint whispers, barely audible, easy to ignore. But what if you've been living a lie that starts unraveling with the telltale signs of deception? It was a question that kept haunting me as I uncovered truths about my long marriage. Let me take you back to the beginning of this revelation, a journey strewn with deceit and disillusionment. As a primary school teacher, my existence revolved around a world of innocent laughter, crayons, and stories of brave knights and mystical castles. My days were predictable, wrapped in the warmth of routine. Every Tuesday, staff meetings stretched until 6 p.m., reclining with the mundane reliability of clockwork. Such predictability even stretched to my commute, ensuring my arrival home was never later than 7 p.m. Terry, my partner for 31 years, always seemed to carry an air of contented exhaustion on these evenings. Her devotion to her gym sessions was an undeniable part of her routine, a part one had never doubted. Love, after all, is about trust, isn't it? Her fatigued smiles and post-workout glow were my truth, or so I had believed. We often take comfort in familiarity, letting our hearts lean against the walls of habit. But when the fabric of our lives hides deceit, familiarity becomes a trap that lulls you into blindness. So, when did I first notice that things had shifted between us? Perhaps it was in the little things. The way her laughter didn't quite reach her eyes, or the whispers of conversations abruptly ended when I entered the room. The adage says curiosity killed the cat, but what if curiosity was my salvation? Everything changed when a portrait of suspicion painted itself into vivid colors on the canvas of my life. One Tuesday, I came across a receipt tucked carelessly in Terry's purse, a designer store I knew she never frequented. It was a small clue, but it ignited the cautious side of me, the logical detective born from years of analyzing children's innocent fibs. Gathering evidence became a necessity. I wasn't just a husband sailing through his days on autopilot anymore. I was a man with a purpose. In secret, I began assembling the pieces of the Odyssey. What was once an idyll was now a tempest I had to navigate. Every click of her phone, every late-night message, every unexplained absence built the fortifications of my suspicions. In what felt like an alternate reality, where the woman I had pledged my life to had constructed a world of deceit, I knew my next steps had to be carried out with precision. Preparation became another chapter in my life story. I sought legal advice in hushed conversations, took measures to secure my hard-earned assets, slowly stabilizing against the storm I anticipated would break upon the horizon. As I sat at the crossroads of discovery and action, I reflected on what drew people to betray. Was it the thrill of the unknown? The chase of what felt lost in the intricacy of commitment? My journey to uncover these truths was in full motion, a slowly unfurling tapestry of connection, concealment, and courage. In this first leg of my unfolding journey, I found myself living between two worlds, the ethereal safety of a past I cherished and the stark reality of a future uncertain. As I stepped further into the shadows of this mystery, I wondered what awaited me in the recesses of this betrayal. Would I emerge unscathed, stronger than ever, or would the currents of deceit sweep away everything I held dear? The sun had barely set on the horizon when Mark found himself wrestling with the painful discovery of Linda's betrayal. 3 decades of trust, love, and shared memories seemed to unravel right before his eyes. Mark, a dedicated primary school teacher, had always cherished the stability his profession provided. His days were predictable, a comforting rhythm that eased his mind in the bustling dance of life. But now, he found solace in the routine as he plotted an unthinkable course of action. The serendipitous revelation had come to Mark on a mundane Tuesday, a day often marked by school meetings that stretched into the late afternoon. His routine assured Linda that he would return home by 7 p.m., a consistency she seemed to rely upon. The gym became her claimed sanctuary on these evenings, a refuge Mark believed to be innocent. Now, though, every treadmill, every weight machine at that gym whispered lies to his ears. In the quiet hours of the night when sleep eluded him, Mark meticulously pieced together a plan. It began with securing his financial independence. Bank accounts, investments, and valuable possessions had to be protected from being swept away in the impending storm. Mark consulted discreetly with a trusted friend who was well versed in the legalities of divorce settlements. A plan was drafted, with each clause aiming to ensure his hard-earned assets remained untouched by the betrayal that threatened to obliterate his past. The crux of his strategy involved gathering irrefutable evidence of Linda's infidelity, a task Mark approached with painful precision. The next month stretched infinitely, yet moved with shocking speed. Every Tuesday, while his colleagues discussed lesson plans and school events, Mark immersed himself in a different sort of gathering. A private investigator was hired, a shadow that began to trace Linda's steps while Mark played the role of the oblivious husband. On the evening of March 14th, as shadows stretched across their living room, Mark sat alone, nursing a cup of tea now gone cold. His heart thumped wildly as he clicked through photographs and documents neatly arranged on his computer, each image a testament to lies that had become unmasked. His resolve only strengthened with the evidence. A picture painted on March 7th clearly showed Linda's tangled web of deceit, confirming suspicions he'd hoped were wrong. As days waned into nights, the betrayal reshaped his perception of the past 3 decades. Little moments, gestures that once brought warmth, froze solid with their new meaning. The end of March promised a conclusion where Mark's allies, lawyers, confidants, resolute paperwork, would culminate in a confrontation that Linda couldn't evade. In constructing this new narrative of his life, Mark was surprised by a strange sense of relief. Though the hurt was undeniable, the breach of trust profound, the clarity he now had was liberating. He penned down notes, each word crystallizing his determination. The dialogue he would present to Linda, rehearsed countless times under the silent guise of nightfall. With April approaching, Mark knew the first step lay just beyond the threshold of fortitude and vulnerability. He pondered how to address the pupils who would unknowingly witness the aftermath, with kindness and focus. His role as a teacher, a figure of stability and care, he vowed, would remain untouched by personal turmoil. The classroom must be a harbor of calm amidst his personal storm. Mark drew strength from his resolve, imagining a different future that was now daunting yet tantalizingly close. It would be a life rebuilt on honesty and loyalty, values Mark had held steadfast throughout his own life and would continue to teach his students despite personal tribulations. As April 4th dawned, the decision felt less like fleeing and more like reclaiming. He prepared to execute his strategy, understanding that endings and beginnings often disguise themselves within each other, transforming chaos into a canvas for potential. Mark's quiet strength echoed within him, a beacon illuminating the path forward, beyond betrayal and towards rebirth. With resolution carved into his heart, Mark looked out at the schoolyard, where children played with carefree abandon. Their laughter resonated with the promise of hope. Though his personal journey was shrouded in complexity, their joy was a vibrant reminder of life's inherent resilience. The pursuit of truth and renewal would guide him, one step at a time, into a future he was now ready to meet head-on. Part 3. A Revelation in the Mirror. Discovering the astonishing truth about Elaine's double life was akin to unraveling a complex tapestry where every thread led to another hidden secret. To fully grasp what was unfolding, I realized I needed a game plan, a strategy that allowed me to maintain my role as a school educator while covertly confronting this personal crisis. The balance between these dual roles demanded a meticulous approach. In my years as a dedicated teacher, I've frequently told my students about the importance of understanding all the elements of a narrative: character motivations, conflicts, resolutions. Little did I know, I'd soon be deploying this same analytical mindset on my life. My daily routine provided a consistent framework, a calm facade beneath which I could quietly gather clues that would lead me to the truth. Tuesday afternoons were pivotal. The staff meetings, stretching into early evening, became my unexpected alibi. They allowed me to extend my inquiries, giving me leverage over my typical schedule. Often I lingered in the library after the meetings, pretending to lose myself in educational resources, when in reality, my mind churned over recent discoveries or checked messages from a private investigator. As I started collecting evidence discreetly, I needed to understand the broader picture. Elaine had her own complex routine. Many evenings were consumed by her demanding fitness regimen. After her workouts, she often returned home late, claiming physical exhaustion. Initially, I dismissed her fatigue as the natural strain of exercise, but now, knowing her deception, everything felt like a carefully curated act. It was during these late evenings that my investigations bore fruit. Using evenings, when Elaine dozed off early from supposed tiredness, I scrutinized her digital world, emails, and social media accounts. Each account cautiously handled, each piece of information meticulously recorded. What unfolded was a surreal montage of unfamiliar names and cryptic exchanges, which slowly stitched together a hidden narrative. I unraveled a web of communications and occasional clandestine meetings with a man named Gabriel. The information revealed a relationship that had seemingly grown over the years, concealed within the familiarity of our own home. The discovery gnawed at me, sparking a conflict of emotions: betrayal, sadness, and an unexpected curiosity to understand Elaine's motivations. Our life together had been built on shared stories, dreams of growing old in companionship. I questioned where those dreams had diverged. Despite the emotional whirlwind, I wasn't tempted to confront her immediately. I resolved the need for restraint and strategic planning to ensure that this confrontation would end conclusively and in my favor. My goal was to prepare legally and financially, protecting my interests, just as I prepared my students to meet their future challenges heads-on. The knowledge and skills that I imparted to them daily became my shield. I realized the importance of shifting our financial landscape subtly. Quietly adjusting our joint assets and ensuring my own financial security was a delicate task. This required all the creativity and precision I could muster. I also sought legal counsel, engaging with a discreet yet fierce attorney renowned for managing such sensitive matters. The support from someone detached from my emotional turmoil offered both insight and solace. We crafted a plan that ensured when the time came, I would have everything in place: papers ready, assets secured, truth undisputed. The process of gathering evidence and devising my strategy made me ponder a deeper understanding of human nature. My experience underscored the complexities of relationships, the hidden layers beneath every smile or conversation. It illuminated the duality of trust and betrayal, making me acutely aware of the psychological toll such experiences exact. Reflecting on these truths, I recognized a parallel between my life and the narratives I facilitate in the classroom. The analysis of stories, the discovery of intentions behind characters' actions, these were no longer just teachings, they were my reality. My story was now infused with lessons, offering new perspectives on trust, resilience, and, ultimately, resolve. As the days flowed into weeks, I approached the threshold of a confrontation that awaited me, an inevitable intersection of past and future. Every step, each moment, funneled into a singular outcome. It was no longer just about exposing Elaine's betrayal but reclaiming my life's narrative, ensuring the next chapter was authentically mine. And with that, I stood resolute, a man who would soon unravel the final acts of this drawn-out charade, ready to lay bare the truths that would liberate me. The choices were set, and the path cleared, with my unwavering respect for myself fully intact. Title: The Unveiling of Secrets. Part 4. Revelations in the Night. After a day filled with laughter and the innocent energy of children, I closed my classroom with a sense of accomplishment tinged with anticipation. The school had always been my sanctuary, a place where I could focus on imparting knowledge and shaping young minds, leaving my personal battles at the doorstep. That Tuesday, however, something felt different. I arrived home just before the usual time, earlier than anticipated, driven by a mixture of curiosity and dread. The autumn air was crisp, the leaves crunching beneath my shoes as I approached the door. Inside, the house was eerily silent, a stark contrast to the echoes of laughter and chatter that usually marked my school day. As I called out to Simone, my wife of 3 decades, there was no reply. The stillness intensified, amplifying my heartbeat in the otherwise quiet home. I made my way through the living room, the sunlight fading into the horizon, casting long shadows across the walls. I noticed her gym bag was absent, a usual sight on the designated bench near the hallway. It was strange, considering her routine never failed to end with it perched there after her evening workout. An invisible thread of suspicion tugged at me, and I decided to check her favorite hideaway, the study. The wooden door creaked open, revealing the haven of books and personal tokens that Simone cherished. The curtains fluttered in the gentle breeze through an open window, and on the desk lay something unexpected: a letter, carefully folded with my name written in her delicate script. My heart raced as I reached for it, the paper crisp beneath my fingertips. unfolding it slowly. I braced myself for whatever revelations might lie within. "Lucas," it began, the familiar handwriting weaving a narrative that shifted the ground beneath me. She spoke of unsaid worries, of a restlessness she couldn't shake off. Simone acknowledged the growing void between us, one that neither had addressed but both felt. Her words were honest, raw, a plea for understanding and reconciliation that struck me deep within my soul. "It was never my intention to hurt you," she confessed in the note, the words echoing her sincerity. "We built a life together, and I crave the partnership we once had. There are moments I can't ignore, feelings I need to confront, but not without you by my side." The weight of her letter settled upon my shoulders, mingling with the earlier hints I had discerned, signs I had misread or chosen to ignore. A dance of guilt and empathy unfolded within, and I realized the conflict wasn't solely of betrayal but of miscommunication. The air grew heavier, the dim study holding stories of its own as I absorbed her words. Each sentence dismantled the fortress I had fortified with suspicion and hurt, demanding introspection and forgiveness in return. Just then, I heard the front door open. Simone's footsteps were soft, unsure, as she entered the house. I rose to meet her, the letter clutched in one hand, the unspoken bridge between us. She hesitated momentarily upon seeing me. Her expression was one of unease and resolution, a complex interplay of emotions that mirrored my own. "Lucas," she began, her voice steady but delicate, threading the silence between us. "I didn't expect you home so soon." "I wasn't planning on it either," I replied, stepping closer, holding the letter lightly as if it were the very essence of our truth. Our eyes met, and for the first time in ages, I saw the woman I had fallen in love with, the woman I had promised to journey through life with. In the moment, time seemed to suspend, wrapping us in a shared history that demanded its due. "Simone," I struggled to find the words, the frustration of long-buried misunderstandings tangled in my thoughts. "This letter—" "I know," she interrupted gently, a small smile breaking through her composure. "It's everything I needed to say." "I understand," I ventured, grappling with an unexpected resolve. Somewhere along the way, the important words were left unsaid. Her eyes glistened with unshed tears, and the realization washed over me that this confrontation was a beginning rather than an end. Together, we could navigate the choppy seas of our shared history and rediscover the love that had been overshadowed by life's challenges. We stood there, the house surrounding us in silent witness, as our unspoken commitment to a stronger, more open future took root. The looming dusk whispered promises of new beginnings, and for the first time in a long while, hope wove itself into the fabric of our narrative. As the night wrapped its comforting embrace around us, I held her close, both of us ready to tread the unknown path forward. Our story hadn't ended with betrayal, but arose with the promise of rediscovery and repair. Together, we stepped into the unfolding night, rekindling the light within the shadows of our past. Jason sat quietly at the kitchen table, staring at the stack of papers in front of him. The late afternoon sun cast a warm glow through the window, but the room felt cold and empty. His mind drifted to the past week when he finally pieced together the signs that had been there but unnoticed for so long. In retrospect, it seemed almost obvious. Marla had grown distant, her laughter had disappeared, and her eyes always carried an invisible weight. It was the weight of a secret, now revealed. He remembered the casual comment from his brother, suggesting that Marla spent more time at the gym than seemed necessary, especially given her constant complaint of exhaustion. Jason's curiosity got the better of him, leading him to install a small GPS tracker in Marla's car, not because he didn't trust her but because he needed to know why. After all, their marriage, built over decades, deserved clarity. As a high school science teacher, Jason's weekdays were predictable, with Thursday afternoons dedicated to department meetings, keeping him away until the early evening. Oddly enough, it was always on those Thursdays when Marla claimed to hit the gym a little harder, gasping for air as she crawled into bed later each night. But his suspicions were no longer suspicions. They had been confirmed in the most undeniable ways. Pulling out his phone, Jason reviewed the GPS logs, each point on the map a reminder of the deception that had unfolded silently. He had followed the coordinates last Thursday, leading him to an upscale hotel across town. There, he spotted Marla's car in the parking lot, and his heart sank. It was the anchor that pulled him into the depths of betrayal. Still, he didn't confront her immediately. Instead, he quietly set about gathering the information he needed, visiting an attorney discreetly and methodically safeguarding his finances. Jason knew that when the time came, he had to be prepared to close one chapter of his life and begin another, though it wasn't a journey he ever anticipated taking alone. Ironically, as he juggled teaching, meetings, and gathering evidence, he found himself spending more and more time on a solitary park bench near the school. It was a small sanctuary amidst the chaos that his life had spiraled into. The ducks in the pond seemed to offer a silent sort of understanding, bobbing in and out of the water with a grace he craved. The school bells echoed through his memory as he recalled how simple things had been years ago when their first child was born. It was within those walls that Jason had reassured countless students about their future, encouraging them through their own moments of uncertainty. Now, in his own uncertainty, those same hallways felt like they mocked him, filled with his own advice urging him forward. When Thursday arrived, the time for confrontation loomed closer. Marla's gym bag sat by the door, innocent yet laden with the truth he could no longer ignore. They sat opposite each other at breakfast, Marla sipping her coffee, her eyes darting to anything but him. It was as if she sensed the impending conversation hanging heavily between sips. "Marla," Jason started, his voice steady yet tinged with the gravity of what needed to be said, "we need to talk about us." Her eyes froze mid-gaze, and the facade she had maintained for months splintered around her. Perhaps she knew this moment would come, but that realization did nothing to lessen the shock of its arrival. As they talked, the air in the house shifted, a storm of emotions brewing as each word pulled at the threads of their life together. Marla's initial denial quickly gave way to a tearful admission, and the weight of her honesty collided with the anger and hurt Jason felt. It was a painful, necessary dance around the truth, and although Jason had anticipated what she'd say, hearing it was a different battle altogether. Jason listened, his heart pounding, taking in each confession with a silent nod. So many factors, like individual life experiences and unexpected challenges, played a role in the unraveling. Yet, saying it aloud didn't cushion the blow. The sun was setting as they spoke, casting long shadows as they began to discuss the inevitable future. Within that conversation, amidst the anger and tears, was a glimmer of understanding. Both had drifted apart, caught in the currents of routine and unmet expectations. As he closed the door on that emotional conversation, Jason felt a strange mix of relief and sorrow. It was the conclusion of a long journey Bob never wished to embark on, paired with the unsteady anticipation of uncharted paths beyond. The choices were still unclear, and a future apart was daunting, but the truth, unflinching and raw, offered both a way forward, fragmented but possible. Uncovering secrets buried within a long-standing marriage was something I never envisioned. After 3 decades united with the woman I thought I knew inside and out, I stumbled upon a reality I couldn't ignore. My heart heavy, I began a clandestine mission to gather undeniable proof of Lara's infidelity. The process was methodical and discreet, the means to an inevitable end, I feared. For over 30 years, Lara had been my partner in all things, yet I now faced the painful truth of her betrayal. In those days, I juggled emotions alongside my career as an educator. My role as a primary school teacher afforded me a predictable timetable. The monotony of academics and school bells became my refuge. On Tuesdays, meetings dragged into the evening, allowing me a small window to escape contemplation. I seldom reached home before 7, permitting Lara and I brief moments before her reported exhaustion took over. Her newfound zest for physical fitness seemed to drain her completely, and I now wondered if that tiredness was genuine. In the quiet solitude of my mind, I devised a plan. As each piece of evidence uncovered her duplicity, a tapestry of deception unraveled before me. Our financial landscape required examination. I guarded my assets with a ferocity I didn't realize I possessed. The pragmatic steps were crucial, yet emotionally torturous. Each new discovery cut deeper, yet paradoxically bolstered my determination to face whatever lay ahead with clarity and self-respect. As the day of reckoning approached, Lara remained blissfully unaware of the storm I prepared to release. The intimate photos, the time-stamped messages, they painted a narrative too vivid for denial. My resolve hardened with each passing moment, visions of a fractured future tempered by glimmers of a life rebuilt. The intersection of past and present blurred my perception momentarily, but not my resolve. Stepping into action, I knew confrontation was imminent. And then it was time. Confronting Lara flipped the script on our lives. Her initial disbelief quickly morphed into defensiveness, a barrage of untruths staining her conscience. I laid the foundation for our parting, an unavoidable consequence of her straying path. My carefully curated evidence unraveled her facade. I offered no compromise, standing firmly on the precipice of a new existence. The woman before me, a stranger adorned with familiar features, was now just a chapter defined by betrayal. The aftermath served as both a conclusion and a beginning. My heart learned to reconcile love with love lost. With the dissolution of our union came the realization of personal strength, of redefining life on my own terms. The betrayal was profound, yet it lit a path to liberation. As I close this chapter, I'm reminded that betrayal, however painful, paves the way for renewed understanding of one's own worth. If you found my journey as intriguing as it was daunting, consider subscribing to this channel. Join me as we explore more stories of resilience, transformation, and the human spirit at its finest.